Welcome to Sacred Rebel. I'm your host, Traci Sarmiento, creator of the Sacred Voice Legacy, priestess of sacred sound, and a first gen Filipino American daughter of immigrants. I know this time we're living in can feel uncomfortable, but I believe discomfort is information for us. And what we choose to do with it, that's where our power lives. Sacred Rebel exists to help you reclaim your voice and to become the change our world is asking for right now. As you listen today, take what resonates, release what doesn't, and trust that your body already knows why you're here. And today, I am honored to be joined by Priscilla Campos. Priscilla is an Atlantean high priestess of healing, light, and oracular vision. She's devoted to restoring the golden wisdom of Atlantis on Earth. And as the founder of the Temples of Atlantis Mystery School, she leads initiates through deep remembrance, awakening the sacred codes of Lemuria, Atlantis, and the great star nations. Through her teachings, including Cosmic Conscious Reiki and the Atlantean Priestess Collective, she weaves together the ancient with the celestial. And with every transmission, she invites her students to embody the golden ray of Atlantis, to live as a sovereign being of love and truth, and to walk the path of the awakened high priestess. Beautiful, welcoming Priscilla. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Tracy, and thank you to everyone that's tuning in.
Yes, thank you for saying yes, because, just me reading your bio, it already brings so much feelings of light, but also strength at the same time. And so I would love to hear about how you got into this work. How did this all start for you?
Thank you. I think like lots of us, your spiritual awakening happens when there's a big moment that makes you question, is this what life could really be? And there's several losses in my life as we all go through, death is the ultimate transformation. So the death of a baby that I very much loved, a daughter that I had, the death of my mother-in-law, the death of my grandfather, all in a very short window, made me realize that there has to be more than what they're telling us. And I will preface by saying that I've proudly been wearing my tinfoil hat since I was about 8 years old. And so even believing in things or questioning things that others see as the norm, it makes you it makes you stand out in not a great way. Like I'm a child, I was born in 1979, so I'm a child of the 80s really, and there's not the kind of openness and the kind of availability to information as there is now. So a lot of what I knew to be true with myself or the things I wanted to question, there was no one to talk about it with. And I want to say that kind of continued for a very long time until in my early 30s when all these kind of traumas and losses were hitting me in a compound way. And I read a book called Many Lives, Many Masters by Dr. Brian Weiss. And that book confirmed everything that I thought about since I was 8 years old. And my sister-in-law at that time had gifted it to me. She's like, I just think you probably want to read this. And she had no idea, that it would really alter my course. And that book somehow gave me permission to be okay with my beliefs and to be like, okay, well, if I'm going to rip this Band-Aid off, let's take it all the way off and let me dive into it. And so, I just started reading more and more books. As you can see, I really I love esoteric books. I love new age books. I love traditional ancient books. There's just so much wisdom. There's something about flipping a page and making your notes and, dog-earing something and writing in my journal about it. That really led me to my awakening step by step. And I really had no clue about Atlantis, which is now like my main body of work until 2017. And 2017 was the last time we entered a year of the one cycle. So I'm really excited for this year, the one cycle, by the way. But it was just like one of my guides has been Athena. Athena has been my goddess since I was 11. And she just told me, like, Priscilla, it's time. You're ready. It's time you start studying in Atlantis. I didn't know what to think about it because I was like, "That's just it's so random. Who cares? What's the big deal?" And I would say my journey through knowing Atlantis was what has led me to being more sovereign, more understanding of the cycles, the bigger cycles at play on our realm, and that we do have control, um, but also that we collectively have large agreements to go through things such as the fall of Atlantis, such as what we're going through now. And over time, what I've come to say, which is why I think this summit is particularly very relevant for me, is I consider myself a high priestess of the temple of truth, healing, and wisdom. And so when I say this, when you serve from the temple of truth, then truth is probably the most important thing to you. And what I have died about, I have died many excruciating deaths, like many of us have through many lifetimes for speaking the truth. But it becomes something that has to be expressed. And I would say people that have known me before my awakening and through it, they'd be like, well, Priscilla always has strong opinions. Priscilla always says that. Priscilla always says crazy things. But it's because there's like, I'm not able to contain it. Right. So if I know something and I know that it's wrong of what people are doing or situations are happening, I have to speak out on them. And it also goes for in this line of work, working in integrity, because there is a lot of people, unfortunately, that you meet in the spiritual world who haven't yet healed their shadows. And so that you have to know what your inner truth is and where you stand and what you will actively say. And during the pandemic, I say it, I was very vocal about what I saw. Um, it seemed very obvious to me, and it was very hard to watch people sign up for things that I knew would be really harmful, but I never stopped. What that actually showed me was a better way to speak through love, because I think a lot of my truths used to come through in a very um aggressive way, not purposely, but very just like, "Ah," like, just like this fire that came out. And, somebody from New Zealand in early 2020, probably in April 2020, messaged me on Instagram and told me I was the worst light worker ever. And like, "I can't believe you're saying these things. Why would you share these things in your story?" And, it's not that she didn't make me feel bad about myself. She made me understand that there's a better way to deliver the truth, and that some things have to be wrapped up in a softer way before the bigger truth can be revealed. So it just helped me speak from a place of love instead of a place of desperation or fear. And I think I was doing that a lot in 2020. I think I was very fearful for what would happen to other people. And so there was like this expunging all the time of this information, but people weren't ready to receive it, and I wasn't doing it in a grounded state. And I think that's what's really evolved in the last 6 years for me personally, is like, speak your truth, be the light, make no apologies for it, but make sure you're talking to people that can handle that information, and just watching the different levels, giving them just pieces instead of all of it, right? And then when I have conversations with people that are very much what I would say, like in my vibration or awareness, we can go full on, right? But with everybody else, small little chunks. And I think it's really helped me survive, because I got pretty burnt out early 2022. I said, from shouting from the rooftops for so long, right? Like, "Hey, we have to save ourselves." So just like also learning that everyone's path is their own and everyone's path is perfect. And just because they're not following me on my path and what I think we should be doing to bring back gold in Atlantis doesn't mean they're wrong. It just means we have different jobs to do. And I learned to respect other people's paths, as I don't think I had full respect prior to COVID. Um, yeah. So hopefully I answered it.
Everything you spoke about, I love, because this is what Sacred Rebel is about. I think a lot of our lovely speakers do come from a place of being shy, keeping their voice hidden. But I love how you and some other speakers as well are coming from it as a place of understanding that fire that you've had within you as a kid, but then really growing into cultivating it to share your message and not just being a rebel for the sake of being a rebel. It's for really standing for your own values and your beliefs and sharing it with people. And I like how you said you share with people at what you think their capacity is, but really, I think a lot of us are scared of sharing because we don't want to get judged. And I think what scares us the most is just, being rejected, feeling like we are going to be outcasts. But when we do that and when we speak our truth and our values, we repel the people that we don't want in our space anyway. And so I love that you shared that part of your journey because I think it is important. I don't think it gets talked about where you will lose people who don't resonate with you. And yes, it sounds scary because that within itself is almost like a grieving process because it's a death of a relationship, death of a friendship, and it does become a part of your spiritual journey as you get closer to your purpose and even just connecting with your higher self, right? You let those people go. And so thank you for talking about that because I wanted to go into you describing yourself as serving from the temple of truth. And I know you've spoken about it already, but this being the sacred rebel event, right? When you hear the word rebel, I'd love to know what it means to you in the context of your work and as an Atlantean high priestess.
Yeah, thank you. I think to me, a rebel is someone that goes against the status quo because there's a missing in alignment. And so my ability to sift through propaganda and historical lies as a child. And again, this is no access to the internet to like look things up. It's just, you're learning things in school and you're like, it can't be true. That's not right. But you can't question authority, right? Like you're not supposed to, you're not going to get the grade if you write from that. So I think for maybe when people who's watching and who's afraid to use their voice, yeah, it could be scary to lose the people that maybe you think love you and that you love. But if they really love you, they love all parts of you and they'll honor those parts. Like, I'm not saying my whole family is like, yes, Priscilla, she knows exactly what she's talking about. But they know enough to know how passionate I am. And I am a person that lives by passion. And I think maybe a lot of rebels also have that characteristic. It's like you have that fire that nobody can put out, and you either get burnt by it or you ride it. And so, you know, being an outcast in today's world is a blessing. Why do you want to belong? Why do you want to belong to the kinds of things that are happening in our world, the kinds of things that parents say are okay to happen to their children? There's so many agendas at play that I love this one meme that says, like, if you agree with what the government says, you're on the wrong side, right? So the way I look at it now is I'm a Canadian, so anything the Canadian government puts out, anything that's on mass media, look the opposite way. Why are they saying this? What's the actual truth? And there's layers upon layers of truth to be discovered. Truths things that have been rewritten in the 1920s and the 1820s and the 1720s and the 1620s. And once you start to understand the pattern of the way that they reprogram this realm to be in suffering and to be in war and to be diseased and all these things, when you understand it's a program that they've inserted, then it's your duty to speak your truth and to speak what you know. Now, if I um, looking back at COVID and all those mountains and rooftops I was shouting from, up until about a month ago, I hadn't thought about it that much. And when those files that have been released now came out and everybody's like getting overrun with them, I had known about those things for a long time. And I thought, oh, I think what I was doing in COVID was planting seeds so that when people come into their jarring reality, they can be like, "Oh, Priscilla was talking about Jay-Z and Beyonce like 10 years ago, and I thought she was crazy." I banned them from my studio. I still own a dance studio, and I banned their music at that time. I'm like, "We are not." And, people like Chris Brown, anyone that I knew had these ties and these abuses, I said, we're not going to promote them. That's not what we're going to be, inspired by. But people thought I was crazy. Like they're like, wow, she's banning Beyonce. That was next level at that time. But you have to, when you know something is wrong, it just it affects all of us. And this is what was happening, why we can tie it to Atlantis. So golden Atlantis to me is like 35 to 50,000 years ago, somewhere in that time frame. What happens after golden Atlantis is it just starts falling, and it's not at first it's not anything grotesque. It's just a little bit of loss here, a little bit of a slip here, a little bit of selling out here. But then when it keeps building and nobody speaks up and nobody tries to stop it, and then we start having these really horrible things like um, child sacrifices and mind rape and physical rape and the abandoning of the priestess temples and the selling out and this betrayal and labeling women as witches and taking away this very sacred Atlantis is a matriarchal society originally, so taking away the goddess and not just taking away but burying her and putting her with all these labels and evil and all these things, and because not enough people stood up to change it, it's what we're living in now. And so when people are like, "Oh, it's this last 20 years or 5 years have been horrible." Honey, the last 12,000 years have been this disgusting. It's just everything was covered up and everything, when we're talking about these Epstein files being released, you don't have to look deep into them, okay? Most people cannot handle what those big truths. You don't have to, but you have to acknowledge what's happening and you have to be willing to make a stand with it. And that includes stopping celebrity worship. My kids know this very well, and so do a lot of my friends and family. I am very good at boycotting. Okay. So when I discover that a company for all different reasons. It could be child trafficking, child labor. It could be that they're actually bad for the economy. I don't have an Amazon account. I don't go to Walmart. I stopped using Moroccan oil when I found out they were responsible, like they were aiding the genocide in Gaza. Like these are things that you think, well, I don't know what I can do. Your purchasing power is your voice in today's world because this is what the what I call like the parasites on our walls. So what they run on is enslaving us, but taking our money from us. So when you make a very firm stand that you are not going to support these products, these businesses, that you're going to support local or you're going to work with people with integrity, that ends up making a dent. And I've never been a fan of Starbucks. I actively boycott Starbucks all the time. And so I was like, so who cares if you boycott it? What's it going to do? Well, when people in Morocco started boycotting Starbucks, it shut down all their organizations in that country. Now they no longer have a foothold in Morocco. Perfect. And that's what we do. So I go by Zara, and Zara made a campaign that was very, very much a stab at the Palestinians and their fight for survival. And it was grotesque, their ads. So every time I walk by Zara, you guys are murderers. I know it's crazy, but somebody will be like, wow, I'm like, you guys support genocide. And what's interesting is that Zara at the mall that I frequent went out of business. And I was like, I hope I helped. Like, so my kids are like, Mommy, please don't do it. Like, I'll be by Starbucks. Don't support genocide. And people are like, what? Yeah, did you know that Starbucks supports genocide? Well, what? Yeah, enough for them to go look it up. And I'm not saying everybody has to do that, but in some way, you have to show that inner rebel, that part of you that knows that it's wrong. You have to have the courage to bring yourself to some point of truth so that you can sleep at night, right? I'm reflecting on this a lot with what's going on in our world. And I somebody posted something and I thought this is the key. We can continue to fight about all the stuff that they divide us about, right? Everything, all the little labels and everything that they try to tweak us into, we can fight about that and we can tear ourselves apart. Or we can understand this is the greatest fight of our lifetime, of our planet's history, and that It's light versus dark, and it's that simple. So you either love children and understand their innocence and will do anything to protect them, or you're part of the other club. And what they do is beyond comprehension. And so it's not hard, right? Even if we haven't had really strong morals in the past, even if somehow we sold part of ourselves for money, for fame, for advancement, even if you feel that you've betrayed yourself more than a few times or sabotaged yourself, this is your redemption. Use your voice. And I used to think I live in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. It's maybe the fifth largest city in Canada. It's got a population of 1 million people. And I used to think, "Oh, who cares? Nobody's gonna do anything here in Edmonton. We're not gonna be a part of everything that's going on." But of course, every single thing is planned out, and so you can think that, "Oh, that wouldn't happen in my community, not in my city," but it's happening everywhere because it's a network of disease everywhere. So, um, being rebellious in this time in our world's history means going against the government and questioning everything.
Thank you for saying that and being so vocal about it because I think a lot of people are scared of speaking their truth. It really does come to questioning authority. And I know even for me, that was terrifying growing up until my late 20s, where I just didn't want to do that because I didn't want to seem like the rebel. But really, it's about questioning authority, questioning the beliefs and the values that we that we think we have, but is it really ours or is it just what society wanted us to believe? And so I continued to just accept everything up until a point where I had resentment. And sometimes I didn't even know where it came from. I just felt it in my body. It was accumulating over years and years of just accepting. And so I love how you are talking about how you've known these things for years and you were not scared of challenging it because it felt wrong to you. And really, that is what Sacred Rebel is about. It's really understanding who you are to the core and knowing that society can't shake you up anymore. And it's where you're allowing yourself to empower others to do the same. And so I love where you are speaking from. I love that you're empowering others to just become the leader of your own life too, because by doing that, you are doing your part. When you start to question, people around you will start to wonder why. And then they'll start to question. So it does become this beautiful community and network of people just rising up into where they want our world to be and realizing this is way bigger than just me. We need everybody to do this work. So thank you. Again, I just want to speak to the part where like speaking our truth is scary and it's terrifying for a lot of people, right? Especially for people who are just starting their healing journey and who are just now discovering who they are underneath all the programming and conditioning. And I know in your work, you also talk about persecution memory and collective trauma, right? Can you tell us more about that and how those experiences can still live in our bodies today?
Absolutely. I would say the most common thing that I've seen over the last 4 years in particular, it's really interesting. February 22nd of 2022 really opened my eyes. I had a free masterclass series at that time because I was launching the Temples of Atlantis. And I had an incredible turnout for me. I don't know what other people have, but I had like 200 people sign up for masterclass. That was huge for me at that time. And out of those 200 people, I probably had about 40 people come live. And actually, this is part of the free gift. That's interesting. I gave you that masterclass series. That's what I did there. Um, but when I opened it, it was about the fall of Atlantis, the healing, and then coming into Egypt or coming into ancient Chem. Now, I really enjoyed the class. There was tons of questions. I wasn't usually people are just like really quiet and don't want to ask me anything, but there was so many questions, and then it wouldn't stop after that. I just got nonstop inbox, inbox, inbox. But the weird thing is, as soon as I pushed end to the Zoom call, I felt instantly drained, and my mood changed. And actually, it was the first time I think I was even wearing this crystal. It's very, I don't even know. I didn't even plan this. Okay. This is just a synchronicity. But I was like, wow, I mean, I usually feel so energized after a class and I feel really drained. And for the following 6 hours, my mood kept getting worse and worse and worse. And then I talked to this Crystal because I was like, what's going on? Crystal, you just opened the trauma of Atlantis for everyone. And you kind of just left them hanging there because you have another class to to keep talking about it. And that's what I realize is that even though my experience in Atlantis, for the most part, has been beautiful, and I've been in Atlantis many, many, many times on this realm and on others, um, it's the golden ray. It's what I embody. Not everyone has had that experience. And so the more I discover is that people have incredibly deep trauma from Atlantis. And I'll just run through some of it, okay? So, fear of water, fear of drowning, fear of betrayal, sister wounds, witch wounds, not trusting your partners, fear of like administration, right? Fear of government. Like, there's so much that happens during that fall. And again, I was clean before. The fall is over thousands upon thousands of years, and it just keeps going down and down and down until it becomes a very hopeless situation. But there's so much that comes from that, that now I understand people have no idea. So I do a lot of readings, and somebody I was trying to help them with their fear of flying. And that's what we are kind of going through. And we are going through, I think actually, maybe it wasn't a reading, it was probably a healing. And we're going through it. And I'm like, but your soul says it's not afraid of flying. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm terrified. I'm like, is your fear of flying related to the Atlantic Ocean? And they're like, what? I'm like, can you fly from Canada to Europe? No, no. Can you fly from Canada to Asia? Yeah. You don't have a fear of flying. You have Atlantean trauma, and you don't want to fly over that ocean because it reminds you of what happened. Yeah, that's it. And so once I put that piece together, then the other pieces come in. And I've told a lot of people this, and I'm not sure how much belief there is, but almost weekly I get somebody new onto Instagram that messages me with shame. Priscilla, I know you don't know me, and I'm really sorry I have to tell you this, but I'm the reason that Atlantis fell. No, you are not the reason Atlantis fell. Yes, it's all me. I have this memory. I did it. And I always be like, it is a collective agreement for us to fall. There's not one person that can alter the whole entire history of our planet because their free will told them to. You have to have a team. You have to have a network. You have to have, this whole squadron to help shift things like that. And so that's what, again, when I notice is that people have such shame and such embarrassment for whatever ways they think they failed in Atlantis. And when I was doing a reading about 3 years ago, I saw this I saw this, what we could maybe describe as a final battle between light and dark in the Atlantean era. And what I saw was all these valiant, incredible men that were sacred warriors of Atlantis that weren't killers, they weren't murderers, that would protect the priestesses in the temples and the law of one, that were willing to give their lives for it. And I saw them charging the forces of darkness, which was the children of Belial or the children of Baal or Moloch, okay? The same children that are doing stuff to us now. I saw this, and what I saw was this darkness just overcome them. And someone's written about this. One of the books I have is written about it, but it's said at the time of the Atlantean fall that each Atlantean was spiritually raped by 20 to 100 entities at the time. So no matter how incredible you are, no matter how much light you carry, that's a really hard battle to win when you're just being overcome with these forces. And that's what I saw happen to these men. And it destroyed them so much because it's almost like their consciousness was changed and they became easily programmable. So as they were going to attack and fight this group, they changed and now they're with this group. And it's like they don't have control over their bodies. And now they're attacking their brothers who they were just in line with, just fighting on that side with, and it broke them. And so then what I saw from there is that a lot of men on this planet who are homeless, who are addicts, who have lost their families, their jobs, their homes, is because they've been broken from Atlantis and it's never been healed. And so that trauma is far deeper than most of us will realize. I think people that have lifetimes in Lemuria, they're much better at identifying it because they usually blame the Atlanteans. And they're like, you're the source of my trauma. But the Atlanteans don't understand that it actually is not all their fault. You know what I mean? Like it's a very complicated process. And so, in my bio, and I say like I'm here to restore the love, light, and wisdom of Golden Atlantis. I'm here to help people remember that part of them that was powerful and pure and devoted to source and devoted to the law of one. And to remember that you have been this great, this strong, this beautiful, this abundant. You have had all the wisdom, everything you can ever dream of. You have had that on earth before. 1,000% guarantee it. And now we have to connect you to that lifetime and heal the shame that goes from that lifetime to this lifetime. And once we heal it, then you're going to start to use your voice. And you don't have to be afraid of, what if people look at me different? Because the culture is shifting. A lot of us are starting to recognize the pattern of trauma. Okay, people aren't acknowledging 12,000-year-old trauma. That's okay. But we're starting to acknowledge that the trauma is what has set up people into prostitution, right? Into low self-esteem, into jobs that are degrading because they've had this usually sexual trauma when they're younger that nobody treated, that was just zipped up, right? And then you're expected to function well in society. So for those people that are just breaking out, you start by being truthful to yourself, which is really hard, right? Once you start telling the truth to yourself, then you start with the people that you love the most and you start telling them what your truth is. And however it's received, you can't have fear about it. You have to have non-attachment about it, but you have to understand that that's going to help grow your strength. And I will say my experience as I don't call it age anymore. I say I'm at level 46. I love level 46. I'm so much wiser than I was at level 36 or 26. But what happens when you get into the level 40s is that you stop caring so much about what other people think and you free yourself from these imprisonments and you start really harnessing your purpose and your path like no one's business because it just doesn't make sense anymore to deny yourself love or joy because you're trying to please your parents or society or your teacher or your professor or your spouse, right? Like you start to be like, if I'm not happy, it's on me, right? It's my life. How am I going to fix it? And I didn't know I wasn't happy being a dance studio owner. I thought I was living my dream because that was part of my dream. But what was happening was the parents were chipping away from me and taking away my joy from teaching. And when I made that jump from owning the dance studio to doing what I do now, I was full of fear and sadness and mourning that part of my life. But all of it is relevant and all of it helps you. And 20 years of teaching children has made me very much an advocate for them, a voice for them. But it's also helped me teach what I do now because I'm used to different personalities and different backgrounds and, different levels of commitment. So everything lines up. And so, people are like, well, I'm wasting my life. You can use everything that you've learned and you can make yourself a new life, and your new life will be more sovereign, more truthful, more joyful. Maybe you won't have, the biggest paycheck in your life, but you'll have your health and you'll have like peace. And that's irreplaceable. And that's what the Atlanteans lost towards the end. They lost their peace because like how we're living now, if you even find 5 minutes of peace, what happens? The governments and the mainstream media hammer you with something else that you have to worry about and cry about and be traumatized about. And now you've lost your peace once again. And that makes you easier to control because you're exhausted and they can put you into a state of fear. And if you're fearful, you are much more likely to give up your rights and freedoms and be like, yes, you tell me what to do. You keep me safe. I'll wear the mask. I'll stand 6 feet apart. I won't go see my grandparents anymore. Like, I'll do all these things so that we can be safe. And what happened? What's the end result of it? People died alone. right? People died abandoned. People didn't have the communication. Um, we see there's a lot of things that happen, but I'm really happy that I never followed any of that crap. And in fact, I pulled my kids out of public school because I refused to mask them. I said, nobody is going to mask my babies and stifle their creativity. One person told me that my daughter could be a part of the musical if she sang into the corner of the wall so that her spit didn't infect the other children. And I said, "Do you know what you're saying to me?" "Yeah." I'm like, "You don't think this is discriminatory in any way?" "No." "Okay, we'll see about that." But that maybe was a rebellious act in pulling them out of public school. But the freedom that it's given us is incredible, and now they're not a part of all the agendas of identifying as a furry, right? Like, all the things that are out there, they can choose how far they wanna interact with it, but it's probably one of the best decisions I've made, and now we have a education program that is catered to them and their passions so that they can live their truth without exams and, this standard of what you have to know and false history, and I was like that when they were in elementary anyways. I was like, "Well, that's not even true. Don't even worry about it. That's social what they say in social studies? No, that's all a lie." I'm like, "No, I will tell you the truth right now." So it's like, once you start living in your truth, you're just gonna keep growing it, and you're gonna get more rebellious in the most beautiful ways, not in a way to, cause harm to people, but in a way that liberates you. And what you were saying before, Tracy, is like, if you liberate yourself, you actually liberate everybody around you because then you give them permission to be themselves, right? So I said sometimes I go out, if I had somewhere to go after this, I would just keep it on. I'm not gonna take it off. And this look draws two reactions, right? Like, "Who's that girl think she is?" Or, right? What is that you're wearing? Oh my god, you look like a goddess or something." "Oh, yeah, I am. I'm a woman. Of course I'm a goddess," you know? And it just opens up the conversation. So, we all have our things, but, it's something silly, okay? But maybe that it will appeal to other people. You're a sports fan, you love your team, but you're gonna go watch them play in the other team's place. Are you gonna wear your jersey, or are you gonna wear the jersey of everyone else in there? Right? My husband says that, "If we ever go see the Boston Celtics," he's like, "You're not wearing that." "Oh, honey, I'm about to wear whatever I want, and we'll see. I'll be polite, right? But we'll see. I'm not gonna pretend to support your team when that's not authentic to me." So everything adds up. Your integrity adds up. And the more brave you get, the better you're going to feel. And for those people that it's really, really hard, a lot of people that keep swallowing their feelings and being in jobs that they hate, that's when disease comes from you, right? That's when the cancer comes. That's when the heart attack, the stroke comes. Because you're in such a state of denial and imbalance within your body starts to fight back. So there's so much to be said for living your authenticity, and it just starts small baby steps every single day, and then you're gonna keep liking the light and keep liking the freedom, and you're gonna be willing to take a little bit more and a little bit more.
Mm. What I got from everything you just mentioned is really shedding the layers that aren't aligned with us anymore.
Right.
And so I know you also spoke to a lot of the wounds that may still live in our bodies, and it kind of sneaks into our daily lives, and we don't know it because we're just so used to it. And so, for the people who are, maybe hearing this for the first time and they're integrating everything that you're hearing and they're resonating with maybe not everything, but a few things, right? Is there a process that you can maybe walk us through to help us just kind of ground back into our bodies and take in what we can and then release what we can? Is there anything coming to
Sure.
mind?
Yeah, thank you. I think, we'll go through just like a little small meditation, but, when people ask me anything, the answer is almost always the same. Your soul already knows. So the disconnection between you and your soul is actually a disconnection between you and source, God Sophia, right? And that is why the institutions that we live with, why they try to control that so much. That's why they take that power outside of us, and that's why the church had so much power. It's like, you can't talk to God, but I can, right? And that was the beginning of, this is going to be a really long process for all of us. But whenever we acknowledge the light of our soul, and nobody can take that away from you, unless you actively sell your soul, there's nothing, there's nothing that nobody can do to take your light. And even if I talk about those Atlanteans, their soul wasn't squashed, but it was smothered, but it was still there, right? There's still some brave Atlanteans that could push through all of it. But let's go through just a brief visualization for each of us to understand how incredibly powerful we are, number one, but how connected we are. So for those listening, maybe you want to close your eyes. And if anything I said has frightened you, then just take a deep breath and see that as like a bubble or balloon and just push it away. Okay, there's a lot of things we talked about. We just push away those things that we're not yet ready to comprehend. And as you breathe, you're really going to drop down into the internal. Somewhere in between your heart and your solar plexus is this incredibly brilliant, warm, and ancient light. And this light has guided you through millions, if not billions of years in lifetimes. It has shown you the most growth. It has asked for hardship. It has asked to be at the top of the mountain and the bottom of the chasm. It has taken you everywhere, and it already knows everything you're thinking, everything that's going to happen tomorrow and the next day, and everything that's going to happen 20,000 years from now. Your soul is your most beautiful, most commanding, most intelligent version, because it is a source particle of God. And you live with that within you. And once you really embrace that, and yes, you are worthy, no matter what you've done, no matter what shame you carry, what fears you have, which ways perhaps you haven't yet had the opportunity to speak your truth, the God code within you is shining. It shines through your eyes each and every day. Your soul speaks through your eyes. When people see you, they feel love, they feel joy, they feel safe, because that is who you are, this beautiful divine spark of God. Now, as you just drop in a little bit deeper and you feel, like I said, it's warmth, say hi to your soul. Your soul doesn't have the same name as you, but it is that same aspect of you that has existed through millions of lifetimes. And as you say hi, notice what floods through you. Love, not judgment, not fear, not control. Love. Your soul says, welcome home. I've always been here. This is the perfect time to start tuning in. And then think about each of the speakers that you've already met, and imagine the people that are tuning into this same summit as you. Questioning, openness, a desire, curiosity, desire for knowledge, for understanding, and feel them as a field of light. So it's not just you by yourself, it's you and another and another and another and another. And when we strip away the skeleton and the meat suit and we just see each other's light, aren't we all brilliant? Aren't we all beautiful? And aren't we all special? Now you watch these lights twinkling in this field. Recognize that each of those lights has their own mission of light, love, and awakening. And some of us will do it being a preschool teacher, and some of us will do it working in a forest, and some of us will be on a big old grand stage somewhere talking to 2,000 people. And some of us will become parents, and we will instill this love through our children, and we will honor our elders and our parents and our grandparents and respect them and their wisdom. We change the world by being exactly who we are. Now, as you breathe into that, then also remember this is not your first rodeo. You've done this many, many times over in many different realms, and you are strong enough, you are wise enough, and you are enough, period, to take on this next step. As you breathe in that light, allow it to expand through your chest, through your shoulders, through your back, and most importantly, allow it to spread up into your neck, your jaw, and your mouth. This is the part of the golden rays, that the golden ray exists within each of us. The golden ray is Source's love, light, and truth, and it is also the ray of unity. And so once you bring it into your throat and through your mouth, give yourself permission to speak your truth to yourself first. Have the conversation with yourself. Have a conversation for 3 months with yourself, talking about all the truths, all the things you've forgotten, all the things that you packed away because somebody told you not to speak about it. Come into that truth and understand that you are light and you are fire. And as that comes into your body, it ripples down through your vertebrae, through your muscles, through your arms, through your legs. And what happens is a lot of that density falls away. We become lighter and more whole in our light. We see ourselves and others with less judgment because we understand that we're all on an individual mission to experience humanity. But we're not doing it alone. We're doing it interconnected. Now let's just take this field and let's spread that into a full world vision. Whatever continent, country you're from, imagine your neighbors feeling the same rise within them, the same desire to know truth, to be in light, to be free, and to live a life that is abundant and kind and whole and peaceful. That is the life that God Sophia set out for us. And so whether you connect to 8 billion people or 8 billion animals, the soul's light is the same. The tree's light is the same. The mermaid's light is the same. All beings that are of God have the same light within them. And so you can never be alone. And you hold that vision and you let the fears that have been programmed into you fall away, like snow melting in the spring. And you say, I am enough. I am the light. And I know that our world is headed into a better place because I choose it to be. I command it to be. Generations from now, people will be free and healthy and joyous and prosperous because we took this initiative to free ourselves from this slavery. And it starts with your own consciousness, your own fears, your own throat. Breathe in. Feel a supportive Mother Earth underneath you. You are loved unconditionally by your Earth Mother. She has been with you every step of the way. Every time you have incarnated on her planet, she has been with you. Feel that love and support of all the elements, the elemental beings. And then take another deep breath and open up into love and wisdom of the cosmos, of the universe, of Source, Sophia God. And know that no matter what you think you've done, you are perfect in Source's eyes. You are the light. And you are loved. And then you just feel that balance, that peace, and hopefully that just breath And that's good enough for today. You've already made one step towards freeing yourself, being a sacred rebel, and loving yourself for exactly who you are. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The better it gets, the better it gets. The best is yet to come. And so it is.
And as people are still maybe taking their final breaths through this process, please continue to breathe. And if it feels right for you, you can open your eyes again. I feel like I was transported somewhere else and I was just listening to your voice and really thinking about me as a person. Not even me as the host of Sacred Revel, it's just me, who I am. And I really appreciate how deep we went. And, I'm just speaking from my own experience. And if you listening didn't feel anything or get anything yet, there's nothing wrong with you, right? It may just take some time for you to process, to integrate. And maybe some of you are on your healing journey for the first time and you're still working on trusting your intuition. And so I honor you. We honor you wherever you are in your healing journey. But Marcella, I just want to say thank you for all the wisdom you've given us today. It's really opened my eyes, and there were parts of me that were like, oh, yes, I did buy into that. Yes, I am at fault at some of these things. And so it's really just bringing awareness and seeing where you want to move from there, right?
Yeah. That's the human journey. We're not perfect and we don't know everything. I don't know what I don't know.
Right.
I just what I do know, I'm gonna speak on it, right? And be compassionate with yourself. There's no way you're the same person you were 5, 10 years ago. And there's no way you're gonna be the same person 10 years from now. And watch how this enlightenment continues to shift you. So I would say too, don't stand so firmly on a line that it
Mm.
can't be bent later on because you might, you know, there's lots of things I didn't believe in 15 years ago that I'm just like, oh, that's 100% real. So give yourself that flexibility, but also compassion because you didn't have awareness. But now that you do, what are you going to do with it?
Right. Beautiful. And I know you have a beautiful gift for our listeners. You mentioned it earlier, but please tell us more about it.
So I recorded that in February of 2022. It's a 3-part series. It's called The Journey to Kim, and it takes you from the fall of Atlantis so that you can start to understand your trauma. It helps you meet Thoth, or as I say, Thoth, who's a great leader of Atlantis at that time, and it shows you your journey into Chem. Now, once you get into Chem or into Egypt, later on, you kind of learn how to work with your personal ankh, work with your personal power. But it's really a journey of empowerment. And I know a lot of people on the planet now are really, really attracted to Egypt. Like, I have to go there, I have to go there. This helps you understand when your soul first started going there. And again, no judgment, whether you think that you did something bad at the fall of Atlantis and you don't deserve salvation, or you're escaping Atlantis, or you already fell and reincarnated and come back. It's really important to know where things start so that you can heal it and alleviate guilt, shame, fear. And then as you go forward, things do get easier. And for those of you that are just starting the healing journey, it can feel overwhelming and you can get really attached to the deaths that you've had. Like, why would that happen to me? And the soul asked for it. Why would my soul do that? Because it's curious, because it knows it can't be harmed. And so sometimes you are going to be beheaded. Sometimes your leg is going to get crushed. Sometimes you're going to be adored by 10 million people only to have them turn on you and throw you off a cliff the next day. It is what it is. But there's also these brilliant moments, and I encourage people to find that. I think those classes are probably longer now than what I would do, and I think now I offer much more tidbits, like in a 20-minute meditation. So give yourself space in between them. If the first one feels heavy to you, know that the another 2 are going to help heal it, but you have to give yourself space. Maybe you want a day, maybe you want a week, maybe you want a month. And then you come back for that second class and notice your growth and your ability to retain information. The other thing I will say is that a lot of people that are new to me when you go into one of my guided meditations, you will probably fall asleep, A, because they are long, but also because it's a new frequency that you're working with. And sometimes it might take 6 or 7 times for you to get something tangible out of it, consciously out of it. But if you fall asleep and you feel peaceful when you wake up and you feel lighter, you don't have to redo the class. Know that your soul got exactly what it needed, delivered it to your human, and that you're in a good place. But it should be a very activating series for those of you that want to do it. I think I've shared it like over 1,000 times, maybe even 2,000 times. It's a really beautiful journey, but it's a journey of self. And I can't say enough about that for each of us. Follow your intuition, follow, what your soul is guiding you towards, and watch what happens when you say yes.
Mm, beautiful. Thank you for offering this to our Sacred Rebel community. I think it's very much needed. And if you're listening to this and you want to grab this free gift, the link will be right under this video, and all of Priscilla's social accounts will be listed below as well, so you can stay up to date on her work and how she serves the community. So, yes, and I want to thank Priscilla. I want to thank you for sharing your wisdom and your truth. There is so much fire in this. And so, again, if you are listening to this and it is feeling heavy, please continue to breathe through this, maybe drink some water, because I think we moved some energy during that guided journey as well. And so, as we close out this session, I want everyone listening to remember that Sacred Rebel is about integration, right? It's about letting what you heard today, what you felt today, inspire how you speak and how you choose. So, thank you all for being here. Sacred Rebels, I will see you in the next session. Bye bye.